Welcome to part 2 of the tutorial. So in this part of the tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you how to set up a few things on QGIS and some of the basic controls. As well, we'll be looking at the files that mapping data takes the form of and how to use them. So when you first open up QGIS, go up to the top left corner and just start a new project. Along this side here, you don't really need to look at that, so don't worry about it. Down here is where your layers will take place, and here's your where your map will be displayed. So what I'm going to do is set up a background map. Now, for example, if you want to look at rivers, it'll just be floating in space. So the first thing we're going to do is just get a few things set up in the background. So head up to plugins, click manage and install plugins. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to type in quick map services. It's just popped up here. So just click that. I'm just going to reinstall. I've already got it installed here, but you're going to click install. So don't worry, it'll just go through like this. And what it's going to do is a few extra features. So then what you're going to do is head up to web, go to quick map services, and go to search QMS. So if you type in Google, you'll see a whole bunch of results on the side. So these are pre-made maps from Google. And I'm just going to suggest we download them because they're really useful. So the terrain hybrid is a really good one. Just click add, terrain, add, satellite hybrid, add, and yeah. So then you can just X out of this menu up here. And you can see that in our layer box, these 3 layers have appeared. So this Google Maps, it's the entire planet. So we'll just zoom in. So up along the top here, there's quite a few control buttons, but the one I use a lot is just the zoom. So click on it, and then your cursor will allow you to zoom in. You can either click, or you can create a box to zoom in on an area really quickly. Then if you just want to click that stuff without moving things around, you can take hold of the pointer. So we're currently looking at the Google Terrain Hybrid because it's the top layer. If you click the checkbox, it'll disappear. That's Google Terrain. And then there's the satellite. So these are very detailed, up-to-date maps from Google. So they're really useful to just have in your back pocket if you're used to using Google Maps. It's good to be able to compare things. And then I'll click the terrain, and you can see, just like on Google Maps. So since we've added the Google Maps as a plugin, they will always be available. So even if you start a new project, you can always add in these Google layers just in the background really easily by heading up to Web Quick Map Search. And you can see, even if I get rid of that little search key, these will still appear. So now let's talk about looking at some data. There's a few different types of files, and I'm just going to pull them up as examples. So the main type of GIS file is an SHP file, or shape file. So these files will have an SHP at the end. This data set, this is the Canvec data set. I'll talk about it in the next video, but I'm just going to grab an SHP file and drag it, click and drag it onto the canvas, and then you can just drop it. It might take a second to add the layers. I have added a layer on top of my Google map. So if you take out the Google Maps and you're just looking at like a water course, it's just going to look like this. And that's why it's really good to have the Google map underneath, just for comparison's sake. This video I'm also going to show you how to edit some of these. As you can see, the water courses, they're kind of small on the map. They're not that easy to look at. So I'm going to show you how to change it visually. So what you can do is go over to your layers. You can right click and hit properties. This is going to pull up a window with a whole bunch of different things. Mostly we're just going to be looking at symbology. So our water is green right now, so why don't we just go ahead and make it blue. So if you just click the color bar, you can choose whatever color you want. Let's make our waterways a nice blue. And they're also at 100% opacity. So if you want, you can make it more transparent by just sliding this scale here. I'll keep it at 100% for now. But the main problem, if you look, is that these rivers are really small, so it's hard to see. So we'll look at the width here. So it's at 2.6, which might be okay if you're really zoomed in, but if you're zoomed out like this, you might want to make it a bit thicker. So I'm just gonna put it at 1. And then you're gonna come down here and just press OK. So you can see I've now made all those lines thicker. I'm able to manipulate them, and you can see what's going on a lot more easily. So I'm going to add one more SHP file. It's just over here. Make sure it has that SHP as the file type. And then you can just drag it and put it right there. So now we've added water courses and water bodies. And we have the whole lake here. And this is just for this region. But really useful because you can see we had the water courses before, but now we have the rivers as well. And so once again, our water is pink. So if we don't like that, maybe we just go over here, right click, properties, and we can choose a nice blue if we want. So for this type, you can't adjust the width because this type is stuck this way. It's shaped to be a very specific shape. The other file we had was just little lines, so you're able to manipulate them. But for this kind, you can't. It's the way it's supposed to be. But you can adjust the opacity once again if you want to layer things. So you can see it's kind of see-through now. But you can also keep it as opaque if you want. Now, what order your layers are in can matter, not so much for this map because I've just made everything the same. But if you click and drag, you can change the order of things. So if you accidentally put your water body underneath your Google map, it's going to be underneath. So you'll have to hide it to look at it. Or you can make your map transparent, semi-transparent, and so that the water body shows underneath. And this is a nice feature too because, you know, maybe the Google map is a little bit overwhelming, so just fade it into the background a little bit. So that'll be it for this video. We'll explore a few more file types in the next video when we start looking into some more data. But for now, for this video, hopefully you've been successful in downloading some Google Maps, learning how to add a file. You can also add files up here, but I'll go into that in the next video. Dragging is really the easiest way to do it and the least problematic in my experience. Sometimes there's a few errors. But yeah, you should be able to identify your layers, be able to rearrange them, and look at the properties. See you in the next one.